Hello everyone, my name is Annual and today, welcome to the build guide and review of Yuki. Now, this Yuki is currently the on-banner character up until, we have 16 days, so a little bit over 2 weeks. So she should be leaving roughly around December or so. And yeah, so let's just talk about the character. Is she good? Is she bad? Do you need partners? So on and so forth. So first and foremost, let's go a little bit in reverse and talk about what I generally recommend for now. I think two piece is kind of her best set. The only other set you can use here is probably the order set, but I generally don't really like the idea of farming order set because of the comparison. For instance, if we go over to the order set, for every attack card that is used by... Wait, did they change this? Wait, they changed it. Wait, did they change the sets? Wait, frick, they changed the sets. Okay, anyways. For when attack cards are used, it is by 10, it increases your order damage by 10% for 1 turns, and you can also increase this up to 20%. And that's pretty good because that gives you elemental damage. So if you want to farm that, you can do that, or you can run this two piece slot. This gives you 12% attack, which attack is always good, 25% crit damage, and then you're going to run Scarab set, which will increase your basic card damage by 20%. Otherwise, I don't really think there's any other two piece you can really run, but that is your two piece. You can maybe run defense if you want to be probably like HP as your last two piece if you want, which will increase your team HP, and yeah, it'll just make you survive a bit longer. But this is for damage here. Order set can also work because it gives you 20% elemental damage, which is also pretty good. Now, I don't remember where it falls onto the damage calc formula, but it's still 20% extra damage, right? In terms of potential, this is what my potential looks like. So if you're looking mostly throughout the whole entire video, that is what my potential looks like right now. So the damage more so will reflect this type of investment. So if you're wondering why your damage looks a lot different than mine, this is how my Yuki looks in terms of investment. Memory fragments are at 0. In terms of recommended partners, Lillian I think is her best in slot for 4-star. There's obviously not that many 3-stars in the game, so you're probably only going to have this option anyways. But in terms of 4-star, it's 100% Lillian. Lillian gives you the ability to draw a card specifically from her, from like whoever you have it equipped on, in this case Yuki, which can proc inspiration on her card, and you know, you can keep the flow going. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and summon on Yuki's banner if you do not care, and just get her own partner. In terms of her cards here, the Epiphanies on here, I do really like this card here. If it's pulled, you pull 2. That means you can proc inspiration on 2 of these cards here. I think that's really good. And if you can get this card duplicated by the end of your run, any one of these cards by the end of the run, I think this is the best way to go about it, because this gives you the ability to keep spamming draw, and this will always pull only Yuki's card. No matter where it is, it's going to draw the card. So if your draw pile is empty, it will reshuffle your deck just to draw Yuki's card. So duplicating this card is really important. This helps you set up on a different turn if you want to hold this for longer. So that's good to have. I usually didn't care enough to have it, but if you want to set up later, this is good. This increases all of your attack cards on the turn, so this is still very good. And also this draws to the next turn. I don't prefer that card, but if you end up with it, I do think it's better than this. This exchanges you drawing 2 cards for decreased damage, which I think is not good. I don't think there's any point in that. So this card I think is certainly the best. If you proc inspiration, you literally just get a free draw 2, and on right behind it, I do think probably this one or these 2 are probably the best. The middle one is definitely the worst, and the right one here is probably second worst. For Flash Slash, this is all dependent. I just highly recommend you probably just avoid this one. I do think this completely removes initiation from the card, and if you want to, and I think her upgrade skill here, when a card is activated with inspiration, 60% damage to all allies, and also Like, it's literally just like it removes this. It removes the fact that you can use it on Flash Slash. So it's not that good, as well as this is highly dependent on Yuki's drawing, because you need to draw Yuki's cards in order to increase his damage up to maximum 3. So if you have bad RNG, it just makes it a lot harder to play this card. The right card is not terrible, but the issue is that it starts off with a 3 cost, and every time you use it, that's when it decreases. Meaning this is playing for the long game, and this obviously means you have to sacrifice probably 1 to 2 turns just to get this set up, which is, in the grand scheme of things, maybe not worth it. This is just Flash Slash with increased damage, decrease 1. This is not bad to get at all. This one basically turns this card completely free. And this card here gives you an extra hit, so you hit twice. I think these 2 cards here, I think the extra damage plus this one is the better ones to get. This one being a little bit more on the expensive side, so you just have to be careful when you take this. But for the most part, I do think the extra damage plus the -1 cooldown is very good. I would take that most of the time. And probably this, the extra hits are very nice. It helps cleave to get rid of any mobs or any bosses a lot more quicker, but you do have the extra cooldowns, the extra AP cost, so you just have to keep that in mind. For this card here, if you end up for some reason in your deck that you have a stupid amount of duplicated attack cards, this one is probably the best one. Otherwise, I probably would not pick it because it completely removes the damage off this skill. This here is completely fine. This here I don't like. Although, yes, it gives you a free cost damage card that has double the amount of damage on the card. This also now means this is now an attack card that relies on inspiration. Although the whole point in Yuki's kit is to have some sort of drawing, right? And once you draw, you get inspiration, which lowers the cooldown on the skill. I don't think you want to add more of that to her deck than she already has. I think you rather have something like this, which can activate inspiration for another one of your cards in your deck, or have the ability to choose it, or once again, have the ability to draw it. This one, I really only think if you have a bunch of duplicated cards with inspiration. This card, I think you never choose. I don't think it's as good as you think. On the contrary, between these, I think it's pretty much your choice, but I do think the Retrieve is the best because this allows you to activate inspiration in your deck, and then once you use it, this comes right back into your deck, and it still has Retain on it. So that means you can activate something in your deck with inspiration, use that card that has the inspiration on it, go to your next turn, do the same thing if it happens again. So this is certainly the best card because it allows you to make sure that you can get to your inspiration on your cards. I think this is the last card you can get an Epiphany on. This is basically, I'm pretty sure it's just the initiation. Getting 0 cost initiation is very important. It just leaves less AP needed. And yeah, I think you just choose the initiation. I really don't think there's any other option, but if you want to play around with the options, I'm pretty sure this one helps you if you're struggling to keep your inspiration up on your cards. And pretty much the other ones are pretty much just damage increases in different places. This is just an amplified version of the regular one, and this one increases the actual card damage instead of an extra attack, and that's pretty much it. I also did put together some teams that you can use, and basically all these teams revolve around either stabilization in terms of AP with Mika or drawing cards. For instance, Ray has drawing cards and basic card damage amplification, which is pretty good for Yuki. And in terms of the partners here, you don't need to really pay attention to it too much. Just know that these partners do work on the characters or do work on this team. But realistically, you can use other things. I just put it there just so you can see it's in the slot. But I do have some 5-star partners here, and I do have some 4-star partners. Pretty much, you can just look at it. Those are generally the recommended ones if you want to play it. Veronica has draws very good, as well as adds damage to the team. Cassius specifically can draw cards that you want, as well as has a ton of card draws. Nia has card activations and card draws. Orlea has damage amplification, vulnerability, helps out Yuki increase her damage. Magna has vulnerability in her kit. Hugo has card draws. These are pretty much things here. I could put this link in the description if you like, but pretty much the thinking behind these team combos is card draws, card activation without needing to spend Yuki's cards, as well as some form of sustain or like AP with Mika, right? So let's talk about actual Yuki, and I'll put a little bit of gameplay up. Yuki, I like the character. A lot of people don't like the character. They think her damage is underwhelming. I personally think it's an investment issue in my opinion, but I actually, maybe I'm a little bit wrong, but I've seen her put up numbers basically from what I'm saying here, and my Yuki also puts up some numbers, and I don't think I'm done yet. I think there's a lot more I can do for the character to increase her damage. I just need to simply get there. I'm just putting it out there because you just have to remember it is a deck building game as well as a team building game. So if you just don't end up with the appropriate deck, the character is not going to feel that good. And you can always see that as a downgrade, that if a character doesn't feel that good right out the gate, that they're not a good character, and that's a valid opinion. But at the same time, I don't think it's worth completely doubting on the character just because of that. Now, the main complaint, I guess, is that people didn't like the way she felt in early game chaos, which is completely fair. I can understand it because this character completely relies on drawing, right? And at the beginning of chaos, you're not going to have the available draws you need to completely make this character pop off. Now, as you do get through chaos, as well as if you finish chaos and have a really fully built deck, you're going to have enough draws in your deck as well as your supporter decks to make her function a lot easier, which is why I feel like outside of it, she feels really dang good, and I have some really dang good builds as well. If you looked at the footage across the video, you could see that she felt pretty damn good. Now, in terms of what other people are experiencing, I really don't know exactly. I haven't had the time to look too hard into like other people's gameplay clips to see how they're performing instead. I can only get word of mouth from stuff that I've read, so I can't really compare to see how much of a discrepancy I really have. But if you were to say, should you pull this character if you are limited on resources, I think it's honestly completely up to you. You have the ability to trial the character. She does have a character trial, right? So you can test out the character, get a feel for the character, and see if you like her or not. But I certainly personally do really like the character, but she is one of the first characters in the game, right? So if there is some type of power discrepancies, technically she's going to be one of the first people to go. And of course, if there's any limited characters in the future, pulling this character does not feel that good. But we don't know anything about limiteds in terms of hair right now. And another thing to note is that you must remember that these characters will get added to the standard banner, so there is a chance that you'll pull Yuki later on rather than needing to pull her on her current banner. So in terms of pulling and skipping, I really think just test out the character, see if you like it or not. I personally like the character, and once again, I don't really think her damage is that bad. I've been putting up really good numbers in my opinion, but I guess that's just me, right? She will also do perform really well too. And if she is underperforming, like everyone else is saying, then if she gets a dedicated support, or maybe if she gets some type of damage increase boost, I think she could be pretty good as well. I do think there's like one thing I really didn't like about Yuki, and it's probably this iceberg cleave card, because I really don't get why if you do get an inspiration, the card damage on it decreases. This kind of just doesn't make sense. I guess it's so they can sell this first ego that completely removes it, but otherwise I think the character is fine. Anyways, if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and what the heck, 10 polls. I'll see you guys in the next one.